The NBA All-Star Weekend was in Phoenix last week, and although it seemed like half the players didn't really want to be there, it still was a fun event regardless. The action started with a few stars taking the court in the Ruffles Celebrity Game, and to be honest, it feels like this event has gone downhill with many of the others which make up All-Star Weekend. I mean, we used to see A-listers like Kevin Hart and Justin Bieber taking home MVP trophies, and now we're seeing Guillermo from Jimmy Kimmel wrestle for loose balls against Alex Toussaint, who apparently is a celebrity Peloton coach. Didn't know that was a thing. The game itself was relatively entertaining as DK Metcalf put on a show, delivering 6 dunks that got the crowd going en route to the MVP trophy and a win for Team D-Wade. On the other squad, the highlights were far more sparse, as Megatron sat out for most of the game, forcing Albert Pujols to try and step up, which was not a pretty sight to see. It wasn't until the last seconds of the game that Team Ryan had a show-stopping play as wrestler The Miz hit a half-court shot with zeros on the clock to seemingly win the game. After review, the shot was waved off, however, but it was still hilarious to see DK's shocked look when he thought he'd lost his MVP and watch The Miz run around the court like he just hit his finisher, the skull-crushing finale.
21 of the league's best budding young stars and 7 G-Leaguers got together for the 2nd annual Jordan Rising Stars tournament, with head coaches Pau Gasol, Joakim Noah, Deron Williams, and Jason Terry attempting to lead their squads to a title. Team Pau and Team Deron got things started in Game 1, and Jose Alvarado was the star of the show, scoring 13 points on 60% shooting, and his teammate and first overall pick, Paolo Banchero, added on 9 points, going nearly 70% from the field, as the duo combined for 22 of the team's 40 points, in a 40-25 victory for Team Pau. In the other semifinal, Team Joakim and Team Deron squared off for a chance to go to the finals, with Deron Williams representing the G-League squad. Mac McClung was impressive, scoring 10 points on 50% shooting, which included 2 3-pointers. But it just wasn't enough, as Quentin Grimes and Evan Mobley combined for 21 points. Grimes shot over 80% from the field and hit the dagger to seal the game for Team Joakim. Fan favorite Josh Giddey also added on 6 assists. Just like that, the final game was set. First to 25, Team Joakim versus Team Pau. It truly was a back-and-forth ordeal, with both teams trading buckets throughout the game. I should really say Quentin Grimes and Team Pau were trading buckets, as Grimes seemed to be the only one who could get things going for Team Joakim, scoring 14 of the team's 20 points and shooting 4 of 7 from the 3-point line. Team Pau just seemed to have more chemistry, with their entire roster contributing at least 1 point to the team's total. In the end, though, it was Jose Alvarado who called game, hitting a crazy fadeaway 3 on the wing to seal the win for Team Pau 25-20.
Things on Saturday got off to a slow start as the lamest event of the weekend was seemingly made lamer, with the skills challenge now using teams of 3 to compete in what is essentially one long drill you do at a 2nd grade basketball clinic. Team Jazz featuring Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton won, which I'm sure the hometown crowd was ecstatic about. Overall, if you can't already tell, I hate this event. I think it's time we scrap it and get a little 3v3 tournament going and just pray the players try. But even if they don't, anything would honestly be better than this horrific event.
Next up was one of my personal favorites, the NBA's 3-point competition. In the opening round, it was Tyrese Halliburton who lit things up, dropping 31 with one of the more ugly jumpers I've seen. It's always awesome to watch a guy who has such weird form just consistently splash from deep. If we're talking duds though, you have to mention Kevin Huerter, who let down a long lineage of dorky white guys who can shoot threes, with a horrific 8-point showing. In the final round, 2020 3-point champ Buddy Hield fired off a casual 25 points to get things started. Damian Lillard was up next, and with 21 points heading into the final rack, Dame Time came in clutch, going 4-5 and hitting his final money ball to finish with 26 points, breaking the hearts of Buddy Hield bettors everywhere. Tyrese Halliburton was last to go, but he couldn't keep up with his first-round pace, failing to put up 20 points and securing the 3-point title for Damian Lillard.
Next up was the dunk contest, and this year's star-studded selection of slammers did not disappoint. The contestants featured KJ Martin from the Rockets, the Pelicans' Trey Murphy, Jericho Sims of the Knicks, and everyone's favorite, Mac McClung, who I guess you could say is on the Sixers. I mean, the guy got the equivalent of a call-up for the majors for the home run derby. But he's a high school mixtape legend, so we'll call him a Sixer for the time being, out of respect. Trey Murphy got things going with the dunk that featured Jose Alvarado, the unexpected star of the weekend, doing his signature steal before throwing it off the glass for Trey to finish on a clean 360 jam. Sims followed up with a classic 2-handed honeypot, which was cool, but I expected Jericho to use his 45-inch vertical to do just a little bit more. Next, KJ Martin had a one-handed reverse jam that was good, but not anything to write home about. The people's champ, Mac McClung, then delivered the first 50 of the night, hopping over two people stacked on top of each other and tapping the ball on the backboard before a reverse throwdown. The next dunk was all about the ball, as KJ Martin broke out the new Wilson airless basketball and proceeded to throw it down with authority after bringing it to his legs. I thought this dunk was underappreciated, as well as the ball. I mean, that ball was so cool. It's made out of a 3D printed material that allows it to be semi-transparent while still bouncing the same as a standard ball. And the dunk was cool too, because the fact that the ball is see-through definitely makes it impressive, and the finish was pretty dirty as well. Trey Murphy followed with a nice reverse jam that would earn him a 49.4 and a trip to the finals. Jericho Sims would then proceed to stick his arm in the basket again. He then grabbed a letter attached to the net and brought it down to earth to reveal that it said 50. It was a pretty similar dunk to his first one, so not much creativity there. I personally think the letter he grabbed in the net should have read, 42.3 maybe. But next we got the Delaware Bluecoats' very own, 76ers Mac McClung, who would throw down an absolutely nasty 360 dunk where he at the same time would bring the ball all the way across his body. To no one's surprise, he advanced to the final. Murphy's final two dunks were flashy windmills that got solid scores, but this is really where Mac took over. Mac's first dunk of the championship showcased his wild bounce as he essentially had his full head over the backboard and threw down another double clutch dunk, clearing a dude in the process. For his final dunk, Mac threw on the iconic high school jersey, so you know it was about to go down. He then proceeded to throw down one of the gnarliest jams in the history of the contest, a 360 corkscrew reverse to seal the deal. And he knew it too, as he hit the iconic Vince Carter, "It's over," right after. You may see Mac hanging out at the 50-yard line in his Letterman because he's obviously stuck in his glory days. However, that does not change the fact that he's one of the best yammers in the world and absolutely owned this year's contest. And the best part? Mac said he's going to do this every year. I sure hope some of the bigger players will compete for the crown soon. Middle school me would love to see Zion versus Mac more than anything. Regardless, there's a new dunk king in town, and for the first time in forever, the future of the contest looks bright.
This year's All-Star game took some criticism for lack of effort, as defense was essentially non-existent in a 184-175 win for Team Giannis. Both teams traded deep threes and flashy dunks back and forth, with Joel Embiid, Kyrie Irving, Jaylen Brown, and Donovan Mitchell, and Jason Tatum all scoring 30-plus points. But Tatum was truly the star of the show, winning the game's MVP in a record-breaking 55-point performance where it just felt like he couldn't miss. One thing I'm starting to miss, though, is the old East versus West rivalry, and in my opinion, I feel like the league should return to that format in the near future. Obviously, some things need to change, because this was the lowest-watched NBA All-Star weekend in history. You have any ideas?
I don't even know what you do at this point. You can try to add the 3v3 like I mentioned. Are they going to try? I don't know. It seems like that's, at the end of the day, it's an effort thing. So if they're going to figure something out, maybe up the pot, do something. But if they keep doing this, it's not going to last. We're just going to skip it, and all the players are going to go to Mexico. So
I wouldn't mind a 1v1 tournament. I feel like that could maybe up the intensity just a little bit.
100%. Well, yeah, that was the All-Star break. It was a good time, but really saw all I needed to see on that one.